Show presents
The Covers Face Off.
Who did it first? Who did it best? Which version is superior?
The Covers Face Off.
Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Covers Face Off on the Scratch a Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I am the Dude.
And I'm Grim, and we are here today to celebrate You Really Got Me by the Kinks, and Van Halen is the Covers Face Off for the day.
Man, you have really got me. You know what else would really get me? Is if people would like and subscribe to our channel, especially this episode.
Dude,
it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
That would really get me too. The Covers Face Offs, we were just talking about the Covers Face. We need to gain some ground here on the Covers Face Offs. And hopefully with the Covers Face Offs, maybe you hear of a version of a song that you would like to listen to, and sort of a reignition of a song that you like from another band, another time. So this one I think is interesting, right? So you got the Kinks and Van Halen are the two versions in question. And those are really the only two like real released covers that I know about. So the Kinks released as a single in 1964.
Yeah.
And it jump started.
I think some other people did a cover of it, but
not like maybe notable enough to even be in the wiki entry.
No.
So
so
the Kinks released it in 1964.
That's our bar.
Yeah. And Van Halen released it in, I believe, 78. And ironically enough,
self-titled debut album.
Yeah, it jump started both of those bands' careers.
No pun intended. It jump started.
Well, that was before Jump, but yeah,
that was
I think that's interesting. Like Van Halen had a cover, and apparently the story that I read was that there was a guy in another band that Eddie Van Halen would kind of spar with, who had mentioned that they were going to record a version of "You Really Got Me" to release as a single.
The band Angel,
yeah. And then Van Halen did it first, before them, I should say, and got it out there.
Yeah, it was like a rush release.
Yeah, which is cool.
It did well.
It surprised me that they put it on their debut album, but I like their version. I think musically it's a little more adventurous, I guess, than the Kinks. The Kinks kind of keep it just straight ahead as to what it was. And I think their version's important too, because if you think about what else was big in 1964, being the Beatles, most notably coming to the United States.
Yeah.
Dude, this must have sounded like punk rock compared to the Beatles.
Yeah, because it's so raw, and the distortion on that guitar is
not really common
crazy
for the time. Now, did you read about Duder how they said they got that?
I did. I'll let you talk about it. Like, have you ever, first of all, let me add, well, no, why don't you tell the story? And then my follow-up question is, would you ever do that?
Yes.
If you had the money to pay for an amp.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But so the story is that varying accounts of who did it, but Ray Davies would say that I think that it was his idea to basically slice the cone of the speaker with the razor blade and then poke a hole in the conical part, or the little bump out spherical part, with a pin to make the speaker kind of buzz even more so, because in those days all you had was tube amps, which nowadays most people play tube amps too because they have this sound that people like. And when you turn them all the way up, the sound will naturally break up anyways, just because that's how the tubes work. It just starts to like destroy itself as you get loud enough. But by cutting the speaker and doing that too, awesome.
Yeah. When I read that, I was like, holy shit, that's pretty wild.
And I would actually love to do that. Just get like a little cheap tube amp, like a 15 watt or something that you could just turn up as loud as, the thing could handle, and then cut it. Like, I think it'd be sweet.
Cut it.
I might do it someday when we get enough likes and subscribes.
Hint. Yes. I think you should. I think that's the first purchase we should actually make.
I might actually do my vocals for the podcast through it.
Oh, wow.
Just to add a little grit. I mean, like, a lifetime of smoking couldn't give your voice that sort of grit.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, so I thought it was really cool, like that little behind the scenes story of how they did it. But the biggest like rumor or controversy about this album or this song is that people have suspected that Jimmy Page actually played the solo on it.
Yeah. And
now basically like I don't know how that came out necessarily, but Jimmy has denied it. I think everybody else in the band denied it.
Yeah.
So
I think it just came out
weird.
because, I mean, at that point, even before joining the Yardbirds, so at this point in history, Jimmy Page was like a serious session musician. And I think he actually did say in another interview that he has played on Kinks songs, but he didn't do it on this one.
Okay. Well, so originally, I guess it was the brothers. I want to say it's Ray Davies. Yeah.
Ray and Dave.
So he originally so Ray actually originally wrote the song on the piano, and it was more like had like more of a jazz feel to it. And then he played it for his brother Dave. And his brother Dave was like, dude, that riff is, he probably didn't say it just like this, but he was like, that riff, dude, that riff is way too hot. Dude, that riff is way too hot. We need to, let's put that, it's going to be more powerful on the guitar. And I mean, I can't argue with that. I mean, I've never heard a piano version of it, but that it's just it's so distinct that I couldn't imagine hearing it toned down at all.
Oh, so. Sure. Well, and a side note too, they did talk about when they first they recorded their first demo of it on the guitar, and it was a lot more like subdued and kind of like bluesy, and they basically had to, I think their management company wouldn't pay for them to go back into the studio, so like their manager like raised the money to get enough to go back in,
they're like,
and to do it.
We'll do it. And good thing they did, because it kind of put them on the map and became basically, I think it was, I don't know if it's been the band's biggest hit to date, but that was like their first, I think, really kind of coming out hit. They had put out a few singles, but that's why the record company wouldn't pay for the re-recording of this song, because their first two singles they put out just kind of didn't exactly set the world on fire. So they ended up recording this one, and it just boom, it blew up. So it was pretty cool.
Well, and there was something, I can't seem to find the quote now, but it was something to the effect of Ray Davies was like, yeah, I was basically like born as a popular musician, like the day that song became released. Like he was all of a sudden like thrust into everything.
It's kind of a big deal.
Well, and when you think about it, I mean, that riff, as simple as it is, and it's all power chords, which is just octaves and a fifth, that became the basis for punk rock, metal. I mean, that just very simple, not a lot of harmony in the chord, like that just be the foundation for a heavy riff. I mean, it kind of started there. Yeah.
And I mean, he's the godfather. Is there some documentary talking about somebody as the godfather of grunge? Is he the godfather of punk? I don't know.
I think people would still say Iggy Pop.
Say Iggy Pop. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
So moving on, let's move on, switch over to Van Halen's version.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we already kind of talked about this being released in 1978. It was on their self-titled debut album, and it was actually the band's first single, which Eddie Van Halen, the late great, I should say, Eddie Van Halen, who passed away last week. Later on, after it became a success, he kind of said he regretted kind of the band's first song or real single coming out being a cover. He kind of felt they should have done something, one of their originals.
But they did. Most often it's played with him doing that just nasty eruption solo into it, which that is something that was certainly not on the Kinks version.
Yeah, which I believe they do in the music video as well that I've seen for it. I think that is kind of how it starts off. And they said on the radio, it's played with the Eruption kind of instrumental solo that precedes the song as well. So it's kind of like, dude, like back in the day on 97, was it 97? No, it was
94.5.
The 2 for Tuesdays. The 2 for Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always going to hear Heartbreaker into Live and Love and Mate.
You're going to live
just
and love
how
and
it
Mate.
is.
It's just going to happen.
And same thing with this.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Eruption into You Really Got Me. But I think
Right.
I like how the Van Halen version goes into kind of a breakdown, where like Eddie kind of hangs back after his solo. He has just a nasty solo, but it kind
Go ahead
of,
and give it to me.
like everything kind of just chills out and it's just bass, drums, and David Lee Roth. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they definitely, despite the fact
DLR.
that DLR, that their
DLR.
first single was a cover, I think they definitely did some things to make it their own.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they did. I mean, it's still, in my mind, it still follows very closely the structure and sound of it. Like, it's not like, some of the other covers that we've done.
Yeah,
that
where it's
obviously
like a total
people have
sea
been
change.
watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not.
Well, like Crawling King Snake.
If you haven't seen our episode on Crawling King Snake, check it out because you could be the 10th person.
But
we were just ahead of people are going to look back on that and be like, they were just ahead of their time.
oh, dude, for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. They really did did homage to the original version, but still kind of made it their own. And and dude, even if that was their first single, dude, Running with the Devil coming out as the follow-up single, I mean,
dude, it's pretty good.
Enough said.
Yeah, it's so good. Van Halen, rocking. Well, Dave Davies, he said he didn't really like it, and Ray Davies said he liked it, but he liked it because it made him laugh. So is that like a sarcastic laugh? Like, I like it. I don't know,
but I read that he was a concert goer to the Kinks. Also approached him after a show and congratulated him on playing such a great cover of a Van Halen song, which is
awesome. That's pretty sweet.
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
There.
Yeah.
No, definitely
Maybe
not.
they should have listened to the covers Face Off first and they'd have a little more to go on. But I think that's really funny either way.
Yes, agree. All right, Brinton, Tim, what do you say? Which one do you prefer? Wow, dude. It's like a fucking moment of silence.
Yeah. Well, that was,
I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Dude, you kind of did. It's tough. I thought about this, and of course, I've listened to them both. I'm going to have to say the original, but that's just because of, to me, what it meant at the time. Like, there wasn't anything as raw and gritty, I think, at the time. But, I mean, I really do like the Van Halen version a lot, too.
Yeah, I would probably go with the Kinks version like 99 times out of 100. Like, I appreciate the Van Halen version, but to me, the Kinks version is just so classic in that sound, the guitar, just it's not only for the times, but I just think it's a really cool song. And I was really surprised that it was 1964 because to me, it's just like, it doesn't sound like songs that were coming out in 64, like at all. So I definitely go with the Kinks version.
I don't know if I do it 99 out of 100 because sometimes I just want the little DLRs where it's like, in there, but,
Or that. Yeah. DLR. All right.
So there
All
you
right,
have
Grim.
it.
I think that wraps up this episode of The Covers Face Off, presented by the Dude and Grim Show.
On
the Kinks,
Stretch
Van
Track
Halen.
podcast.
We side with the Kinks on this one, but there is appreciation for the Van Halen version. And
Absolutely.
rest in peace, Mr. Eddie Van Halen. You're an icon. So thank you for listening, everyone. Please be sure to subscribe, to like, whether you're listening on the podcast or you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate all your feedback and comments. So please leave below.
Check out Crawling King Snake.
The Covers Face Off is produced by the Dude Grim. Additional music provided by More. That's .more in the Tims, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020, The Dude and Grim Show.